Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sport. And some interesting news with World Rugby having confirmed that rugby's major stakeholders have been in London this week discussing the future global calendar for both the women's and the men's rugby games across the world. So it's interesting to sort of see exactly what's going to happen with the new sort of plans for a global rugby calendar, certain competitions potentially coming in, a potential alignment for certain competitions in various nations, and potentially sort of several tweaks happening to sort of some of the regulations which are stunting, the growth and stunting the certain competitions from sort of being at their potential. Before we sort of break down exactly what the media release has to say, what they were sort of in London discussing, who were in London discussing it, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so World Rugby has issued a very short press release saying that rugby's major stakeholders have been in London, as we said, discussing the future global calendar for both the men's and the women's game. They included international rugby players, World Rugby, British and Irish Lions, the major international competitions, including the Six Nations and the Rugby Championship, along with unions and professional leagues and competitions in the men's and women's game. So, I mean, that's kind of been a small meeting. There would have been people there from the unions. So from different sort of teams, for example, there would have been, I mean, like your domestic teams, your Bulls, your Saracens, your Toulouse, for example, your La Rochelles. From the league, so your URC would have had representatives there. Top 14, the Japanese league, Rugby America, for example. All these sort of different bodies would have all sort of come together and have been part of these conversations. It says that the whole sport group continued to be united in their commitment to optimizing the global calendars to prioritize player welfare and accelerate global growth in content, opportunity, relevance, and value by better aligning the annual domestic and international environments, also boosting player and fan experience. So this is basically something that a lot of it is coming to do, especially with South Africa's move to Europe, for example, it's a lot of conversations. How do we align a calendar which allows international teams to always have their best players, for clubs to always have their international players, and how do we find times where the best teams can play against each other, and whilst still giving players opportunities to recover, for example, to have breaks, and to make sure that from a player welfare perspective, these players are not being played into the ground, but that we can sort of still get all our various competitions, matches, tours all in within a calendar year, and it can all still sort of function. It says that central to the development of the men's calendar is optimizing player release for players moving between the club and international environments. Again, this is a big thing for South Africa, for example, and European teams, where during the Six Nations, for example, there are certain windows where international players, are not available to their clubs and they go play for the internationals. But sort of South Africa's had issues, for example, where last year against England, it fell outside the international window and we couldn't select sort of British or French-based players. And we had to have special permission from the Japanese leagues and stuff like that to have those players, for example, even from the URC teams and stuff. So that's a massive issue. The fact that the Regulation 9 doesn't always sort of take into consideration the Southern Hemisphere or Northern Hemisphere competitions in terms of the clubs. So it says, so they want to optimize the player release whilst overall player welfare optimization, including rest periods, and a greater level of clarity around fixtures for high-performance unions and emerging nations, including the Six Nations and Sanzar teams. Planning includes the establishment of a two-division tournament or international competition in the men's game operating across the July and November windows outside Rugby World Cup and British and Irish Lions years. All stakeholders are motivated by the opportunity for more teams to advance on the world stage, ultimately leading to more competitive Rugby World Cups. This mission is underpinned by the principle of promotion and relegation between the divisions, which reflects the vision of a global game. There's also a review of Regulation 9, which will look to affect the new calendar and address issues relating to the release of players for international matches, as we just mentioned. Much more work is required and is being driven towards decisions on the international global season structure being taken by the World Rugby Council at its interim meeting in Paris in October. It's quite a controversial thing, this whole two-division international competition. And a lot of people say they don't like it for a lot of valid reasons, because it very much creates a two-tier system where you're going to have your top tier, maybe top 10 teams, for example, all playing against each other, your bottom 10 teams all playing against each other, and never really playing in between those. And, for example, a side like a Georgia, you think about they're supposed to have 2 tests. They only managed to have one against the Springboks. How invaluable that experience would have been for them. They will be robbed of that. For example, Romania, Spain, they play against each other quite often in the years between World Cups. And then all of a sudden, bang, you get to a World Cup and you go from playing against Spain and Portugal and Georgia, good sides, but Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, for example, and all of a sudden you've got to go and play against the Springboks, and it's just there's levels to the game, and until you start playing that sort of rugby regularly, you're not going to adapt. So lots and lots of apprehension, I think, towards that 2-division international competition. Well, I think it's quite rightly so. We have to wait and see exactly what will happen, but it is good to see at least that there is a global calendar relook at the moment, which I think is quite overdue. And let's not speculate too much. We have to wait and see exactly how it sort of pans out when they make their decision later this year. But at the moment, I think the discussions are a good thing. I'm a little bit worried about the direction the discussions are going. Let me know if you have any thoughts down in the comments below. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.